dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream on the podcast. How are you this morning? Do let me know. Happy Hump Day to you. Hope you're well. Looking forward to seeing you if you're coming along to the meetup in San Martino de Porto later on today, lunchtime. Yesterday, fabulous times in the bay. Me and my daughter, Minnie, we were in the water yesterday. Let me see if I can find that picture for you. Yes, first swim of the day. In the San Martino de Porto Bay. There's the documentary evidence, Mrs. M. Thank you for capturing that for us. She'll be joining us a little bit later on. Her astrology channel do you use that phrase? It's going gangbusters. Anyway, very successful. She's a YouTube sensation. And we'll have a chat with her a little bit later on about that and her astrological perspective on some of the news this morning and what's going on in the world. Talking about what's going on in the world. Oh, and also before 9, we'll have Jackie from Expats Portugal joining us. And hopefully Nancy Medwell will join us, who's running a course here in San Martino de Porto, here on the Silver Coast, talking about, well, a few more health tips. Fits in nicely with our God Squad tips of the day and growing old disgracefully, though her advice, insight, input is, I'm sure, appropriate for people of any age. So Nancy joining us, I hope, just after 9 as well. And maybe, just maybe, Aoife Brewster might join us. She's the one running the When There's No Doctor Around course in central Portugal. I think that's in April and May. I'll bring you more details of that. Quite useful information, I think. A little bit of sort of first aid that you can do at home and in your community, led by a doctor who's coming to Portugal to do that. So lots to come. And yeah, what we're talking about what's going on in the world. The show did start on time, technically 8:31. And I was out covering a world event phenomenon this morning, so nearly didn't start in time. I was at Portugal's farmer protest this morning, and it was right up against the line. It was very exciting. Media stuff. Get that story filed and shared with the listeners this morning. Not a brilliant podcast material, quite frankly. You'll see why in just a moment. So hot off the press then, and fresh back from the farmer protest this morning. Here's my coverage. There you go. It's a thought that counts. So we'll look at that. What's going on in France and in Germany, I think, and in the Netherlands at the moment, and no doubt in other places as well. Spread good news and good vibes. Okay, I'll do my best. It's always a little bit of a balance, isn't it, to talk about what's going on in the world, so-called reality. I think that's probably what we'll do. We don't want to sort of be not ignoring what's going on in the world. We don't want to be like that. I've been like that in the past. Some say I still am, but I think it's quite useful to get the right measure of knowing what's going on the perimeter, and then perhaps frame it in an upbeat and positive way, and always be solution focused as well. When people are ready, do not offer unsolicited solutions. Listen first. We have 2 ears. Actually, that was nearly the graphic I was going to use this morning. 2 ears, 1 mouth, so that we could hear your views about what's going on in the world. If you've got any news links, items, stories that you want to share this morning, send them to me. I don't think links post very well in the chat, so Do send those to me on 913-590-303, the Portuguese WhatsApp number in our burgeoning Good Morning Portugal WhatsApp group as well. We have a few dad jokes that we transfer across there too. And one dad joke then from T-Duck, who's still busy, but has managed to pop in and see us this morning. So morning to you, T-Duck, and Coach Turner, also very busy and in Roma at the moment. A lovely chat with Fabrizio and Ian talking of Romans. That will be Fabrizio and not Ian. He's a Peaky Blinder. And of course, Fabrizio from Rome. A couple of shots this morning for you from Rome then. An amazing hotel ceiling, which I've suggested that the coach maybe says to the reception staff that they Artex. It's a bit old-fashioned, basically, this old blimmin' ceiling that he sent me from Rome. But it does look very beautiful. And a little bit of video as well. Nice bit of concrete. 2,000 years old. My goodness. Maybe that's what, when Portuguese people ask, what did the Romans do for us? Well, they showed us how to make our homes out of concrete 2,000 years ago. Do you want to see a little bit of 2,000-year-old concrete? I can't see where I've stored it now. I've downloaded it, but I can't see where it ended up. That's my tractor video. Oh, did it go to the receptacle of yesterday? No, it's not there either. Oh, come on, Carl, get a grip. Where is this blooming... No, sorry, Coach. I seem to have... Oh, here we go. 2,000-year-old concrete from Roma. Hot off the press, not the concrete, but the video thereof. Thanks for this and the couple of pickies that you sent as well on 913-590-303. Check this out. Where is that, Coach? That is so beautiful, isn't it? Just looking at it, it's a bit like looking at Matty's garden. You just get overcome, don't you? With and presumably that's what it was intended to do. It was meant to be awe-inspiring, and that's absolutely what it seems to be there. And we're not even there with you. You're sending us the video, isn't it wonderful that we've got this technology to share this sort of thing? So thank you for that. Where is it though? Do let me know. We have discovered now that the eternal city is Roma. Someone was suggesting it might have been in Japan as Tokyo. It might have been Tokyo, but I think we can safely say it's in Roma. Oh, that's where Coach Turner is this morning. And I think, has he supplied us with a God Squad tip of the day as well? Bless him too, despite being on holiday in Rome. Oh, here's the ceiling of the hotel. Look at that showy offy ceiling. I'm a bit disappointed to see an IKEA light pendant hanging from it with a cable tie on it or something. That's the sort of thing I'd do at home. But that's beautiful, isn't it? Probably 10 a penny in Rome, that sort of thing. And, of course, a fountain in the streets of Rome here as well. Wonderful. Just put a bit of fairy liquid in there, and that'll be a lot of fun a bit later on there, Coach Turner. Thank you very much for your pictures and video this morning. Let's go to your God Squad tip of the day. We have had other contributions on 913-590-303. Thank you for the cat face and Miss Kitty update, John Homeback. I think we need to have a pets corner, don't we, over at the Portugal Club as well? Because we used to do pooches and pussies, didn't we? And that would fit firmly into, who doesn't like to fit firmly first thing in the morning, into a pooch and pussy corner that we could reinstate. So thank you for all your contributions that are coming in on 913-590-303. So many, I think, have you broken my WhatsApp? Thank you for doing so. The little part of the graphics have disappeared on my WhatsApp. You've broken it. Well done. Thanks, everybody. Okay, let's go to Coach Turner and a few more of the comments that are coming in. Coach Turner was, of course, first this morning before heading out into Rome. You are an hour ahead of us, I think, aren't you, Coach T over there? Bom dia a todos. E tudo bem. Very relaxing journey yesterday to Rome and an enjoyable evening. We found a wonderful wine bar that is very popular with the locals. We may be returning. Thanks, Coach. And God Squad tip of the day then, building your stamina is great on a whole variety of levels, and it can be easy. 30 minutes of activity each day will improve it unless you're already doing that. And with your words ringing in my head from long ago, yes, just recently, it's been a bit of a struggle to get out of bed and take the dogs for a walk before the show. But I've been doing it. And definitely, I think my 2 dog walks add up to at least 30 minutes of activity a day. So habits form there, thanks to you, Coach Turner. And that's the thing, I think, is to form a habit, isn't it? Not to be thinking every morning, oh, well, how should I do it today? How should I do it today? Should I do it today or not? But just get some sort of routine in place. Dog walking, very helpful. The activity can be almost anything: walking, running, swimming, yo-yoing, tiddlywinking, cycling, dancing. Tiddlywinking, probably not so good. Gardening, all sorts. My only caveat, yes, tiddlywinking is not weight bearing, unless you're an Olympic professional, presumably. My only caveat is, and does everyone know what tiddlywinking is? That could get us all in a lot of trouble, couldn't it? My only caveat is to look at him. He's in Rome and he's talking all Roman now with his caveats. My only caveat is to make sure that some of the activity is weight bearing. Well, other suggestions, please, for weight bearing activity. 913-590-303, or pop them in the chat. Find something you enjoy and go for it. That is so important, isn't it? Do something you enjoy. Now, is everything sounding okay this morning? I do have cats walking across the desk here, pressing buttons, pressing sound effects. It sounds a little bit different to me, but I hope it's coming out okay at your end. Otherwise, we'll have to have a chat with our butcher. Bom dia, GuMPers. Feliz gato a todos. Como está? Tudo bem? From Slow Hand or Foot, friend of Slug James. Thank you, Pointer Sisters. Mindful moment. Guinness Book of Records have been in touch. They want their longest name title back, please, James. The world is complicated. Here we go. Mindful moment, everybody. And I thought of a mindful dad joke for you this morning. The world is complicated, but love is not. No matter what the problem, love is the answer. Oh, yes. And remember, if it hurts, it's probably not love, everyone. Pour love on everything and watch things change. Ask for permission first. Marianne Williamson, that would be a presidential. I saw her on a little TikTok talking about the possibility of free universal healthcare and education in the United States. She's not going to get elected talking like that, is she? Mindful dad joke then. Why was the meditation retreat like a bakery? It needed a little more. Is that dough or dough? Like it needed a little more dough. I'm struggling to see the meditation and dough connection there. I know bakeries needed a little more dough. Am I overthinking it perhaps there, James? Thank you for that one this morning. And mine to you. What do you call, or where did the Chinese sage keep all his animals? Where did the Chinese sage keep all his animals? In the Lao Tzu. Thank you very much. Especially for you. Thought this morning whilst I was out walking the dogs. And yes, ouch. Yeah, I think that's for your own joke there. Your own joke has been, or you're not taking credit for that one. Was that sourced? Free range? Was it slaughtered off the internet? That one. Bon dia, GuMPers then from T-Duck as well. And one wafer thin dad joke. We'll squeeze that in before the end of the show. Still pretty busy, and next week is going to be crazy. Looking forward to seeing you back and relaxed in your usual position here on the Good Morning Portugal show, T-Duck. João Denor also in Bom dia, Alegria, Portugal. How are you doing? You're obviously back home. Video of the cat forthcoming. Was it nice to? It was nice to be away. It's always nice to get home, isn't it, João Denor as well? And did you like my farming video there this morning, Lee McGrady? Good morning, people. And a bon dia all from Jackie, the humble crafter. Oh, I said I was going to email you yesterday. It got buried, Jackie. Sorry, I forgot again. But every time I see your name on the screen here, it reminds me. So maybe today. Good morning, Portugal. Oh, I am writing. I was just thinking about what my day is going to look like today and when I'm going to email you, Jackie. If I don't do it straight after the show, I'll probably forget again. Now, that's not a good look. It's not a good look. I'm not proud of it. Got the meetup in San Martino. We're going to Nelson's today, everyone, by the way. Not going anywhere posh or swanky or out of town. We are going back to where it all began, to Nelson and to Palmeira. And I'm also writing an article. This week's Portugal resident article is about Portugal in the future. Now, I think with the way things are going, is the temperature of world affairs and elections here and elsewhere in the world, there's a lot of focus into this year, and we can take our eye off the distance, can't we, and the vision for the future and the strategy. So I'm encouraging everyone to look at 2030. What might Portugal be like in 2030? To just lift our heads up a little bit and look up or forward rather than necessarily get bogged down in the here and now, because there's a lot going on. Pete's in. Morning, Pete. Bon dia alegria. Michael Barton too. Bon dia, everyone. Jackie's just joining us behind the scenes. Be with us in just a moment to tell us what's going on at Expats Portugal tomorrow evening. Morning, Lee. Hope the coffee is good. I'm sure it is. Good morning from Gabby. Good morning, Gabby. Hello. Lovely to bump into you the other day, and great to see you on the screen here. Antonio Barbosa, watch out, everybody. Tony Time, the man in the Minho, is here. Bon dia alegria. Morning greetings from a sunny and warm Minho. Who doesn't like a sunny and warm Minho first thing in the morning? Feliz quarta-feira. And it's the Pantheon in Rome there, the video that we saw. Good morning, Pete. Yes, it was. Going and getting on with my day now. Speak soon, mate. Here's a little bit, before we go to Jackie then, here's a little bit of unsolicited train advice. Not everyone will enjoy the high-speed train at night. It's like being alive in 2024, isn't it? It gives you a strange sense of claustrophobia and vertigo, not seeing anything but black out of the window. Yes, I imagine that is a little bit disconcerting. Solely Finesse, Bevan Dan, morning to you. Lovely to see you here. Antonio F. also in. We'll come back to more of your comments. Pinky too. Pinky and Pammy are in. What a lovely combo. And I think that's everyone for the time being. Quarta. Is that not what I said? Nice big round of applause. Woohoo! Good morning to you.
Excuse me. Good morning.
Yes, it's a little bit like that at the moment. It's a little bit damp in the air, isn't there, Jackie? I've got that.
Yeah.
How are you? Tudo bem? Como estás?
Yeah, things are good. We have something. I think we have the most confusing webinar we could ever possibly have this Thursday.
Can't wait.
For me, it's U.S. taxes.
Oh.
So it's a company called Greenback. Yeah. And since I know nothing about taxes, we're using them ourselves. And what they are is, so what they do is for expats, our tax situation can become very confusing when you're from the U.S. because in the U.S., you pay taxes no matter what. I know in the U.K., if you become a resident, that all your money is simply taxed in Portugal. But as a U.S. resident, if your money is made in the U.S., you are taxed there first. And then whatever left is then taxed at whatever rate that is in Portugal. So it gets very confusing. And we work with a company called Greenback. And they hire accountants that are used to working with expats and just kind of helping you get through the confusion, the morass, whatever it is, of figuring out your taxes.
Well, sounds like you got a pretty good grasp to me of what goes on in these areas, but certainly Greenback are going to be elucidating and enlightening people tomorrow evening at 7:30. And you're going to with this one, I think you're going to need someone blooming good to host this webinar. Okay, I'll do it.
Very confusing. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We need the greatness of you because, think about the U.S. It's so huge. So a state like Florida does not pay state taxes, but a state where I came from, Massachusetts, does.
Do you still have to pay those if you've left the country? They're only if you are they purchase taxes when you live there, or do you still owe them some of that even when you've left?
No, it's not purchase taxes. It's state and federal taxes.
Oh my goodness.
So some states you don't pay state taxes. Some states you do.
Right. Okay.
So it's very, very confusing.
And that's why it's the land of the free and the brave. You've got to be very brave to face the taxation system and this idea of freedom. You're free to pay tax all day long.
Forever. Even after you die, you pay taxes in the U.S. And I'm not kidding.
Freedom!
I mean, think about this. If you have the nerve to live for a few weeks into the next year, you are going to pay taxes on those few weeks you decided to live.
I'll pass the tax date. Yeah. Do you know, I've got a secret to share with you, which is I don't think anyone understands tax. I don't think the people who write it understand it. I don't think the people who legislate for it understand it. They certainly don't. But they've got very good ways of managing it, I've noticed. The tax experts, I think, no disrespect to Greenback, but I think probably to be a tax expert, so to speak, you need to adopt the same sort of boldness that a doctor in a white coat does and a stethoscope. So I don't know what the equivalent is in accountancy. It's probably someone who turns up with a clipboard and a pencil and a very confident air and says, "I'll take care of this for you," because that is what you want to hear. That is what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Yes,
because you don't want the terrible surprise of thinking you did your taxes correctly and then going, "Oh my God, the government says I now owe $12,000."
Yeah.
And that's a shock nobody wants.
Oh, okay. You see, we got a point of order already. We pay our taxes in Portugal first, then deduct that from our US taxes. So clearly, an interesting area of discussion and investigation.
Well, maybe they're getting
7:30.
paid in I don't know, because our money's coming from the US and the US says, "Give us our money first."
Funny that,
So,
isn't it? And as Pinky's saying, your money is Sam's money, and he wants it. That'll be Uncle Sam. I'm guessing.
that
Where does
is
that
it.
come from? Why is Uncle Sam called Uncle Sam? Do we know?
That's a great question for your audience, because I think
You're
that's
probably
sort
not
of
allowed to
World
say
War
it.
II, right? World War II.
Possibly. Oh yes, the man in the posters from World War II, Uncle
I
Sam.
think
Okay,
that's when it started.
okay. So maybe it's like
I have
Sam,
no
Samaritan.
idea, but
Okay.
it does represent something that we now, when we think of Uncle Sam, I actually think of taxes, not the U.S. government. And it's true. I don't know why that association's there now.
US, Uncle Sam. That's what it stands. Not United States, but it stands for Uncle Sam. Income taxes. California is nearly impossible to disestablish your state residency. They, like the federal government, that is, want their money or our money. I guessed Uncle Sam for US World War II. Yes, well said there, Jackie. Okay, so an interesting one tomorrow night from 7:30. There it is once again, the graphic for that. Navigating US expat taxes in Portugal, expert guidance on managing your US tax responsibilities. Okay. And just when you thought you couldn't have any more fun in one evening, 9 o'clock, it's the Dream Team session. That's going to be a bit of light relief, isn't it, afterwards?
Taxes can be a heavy subject, and it's going to be American. It's going to be all Americans, because this is the most confusing. I mean, you really don't realize how lucky you are to be from the UK. They just make it simple.
I so do.
They don't make it simple in the US ever.
But that's part of the design as well, isn't it? I mean, it's the same here in Portugal. It's not, no one understands the flipping tax code here, really, do they? And they just add bits. Of course, if you just keep adding things to anything, it's going to get very unwieldy and complicated. And I think I wonder what's viewed as the best tax system in the world. Would that be somewhere like Panama or the Isle of Man? I don't know, but wherever these things get added to every year, and it's a way of controlling and extorting people in so many ways, isn't it? It's going to be unpleasant. So we'll do our best to elucidate and illuminate tomorrow evening at 7:30.
Yeah, I think for anyone in the U.S. Who doesn't have a full grasp, and like you said, I don't know if we could ever have a full grasp on this, but just to avoid the nasty surprise of owing the government money at the end of the year, it's almost worth it just to listen.
Yeah, definitely. No, well, it's free to watch, of course, tomorrow evening, or to see again on the YouTube channel from Sunday. So why not? That's going to be some value, I'm sure, to everybody with this particular pain in life. Andorra is pretty well liked for taxes. Is that the Welsh? No, that's not Patagonia, is it? Andorra, there, pretty well liked for taxes. I wonder if it had a Welsh influence. This has really stirred everybody this morning, Jackie. The American tax system relies on citizenship rather than residency. So individuals with US citizenship are subject to taxation on their income worldwide, regardless of their place of residence. Antonio bringing some clarity there. Nevertheless, there are tax advantages accessible to US citizens residing overseas, like in Portugal. Thank you very much. Look at this. I gave up on the idea of my money when I got my first job at 16. You and many others, Pinky, realized right away who I was really working for. Lol. Yes, the US taxes are based on citizenship. I've read that a lot of people have relinquished citizenship if they live and work in another country. You have to pay to do that as well, of course. I think there's a small tax on that process too. Right. Anything else to tell us, Jackie? How are things in Cascais this morning?
Oh, things in Cascais are great. I just want one last thought on taxes.
Well, go on.
We also work with a Portuguese accountant. His name is Duarte
Oh,
from
he's awesome.
Concito. Concito is how you say his name, the company. And he really, especially for my son, he did a great job working with him and helping him understand his tax responsibilities without the NHR.
Yeah, brilliant.
And one of the great things about working with him was my son thought it was going to be unbelievably high. And he really brought him down to earth and said, look, it's not the number you're thinking. It's actually significantly lower. So I would recommend anyone, well, use Duarte, he's amazing, but make sure you also use a Portuguese accountant in addition to another your US accountant.
Oh,
You're going to
definitely.
need both.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Duarte
that's
is
part of
amazing.
it.
I can
Duarte.
imagine him just whispering "calma, tranquilo" in the ears of his clients. And
Yeah, it's amazing.
he's quite an incredible fellow. He's inscrutable, isn't he, in conversation? But I got him to smile. I told him he was like the Harry Potter of Portuguese taxation, and that he cracked a little smile. And there is I wonder if he's heard this. There is an accountancy-based dad joke. What did the constipated accountant do, Jackie?
I can't even imagine. I have no idea.
He worked it out with a pencil. That's disgusting. Okay, right. Yes.
That
Oh,
is
dear.
disgusting.
Oh, dear, indeed. Now I'm
That
sure.
became an instant visual. Okay, that
I'm
was
sure-
horrible.
I imagine Duarte would crack a smile for that as well. Maybe it's what they learned first day, just to break the ice at accountancy school. Just a little bit of light relief of that kind. Right? Can you help me with something? I know from time to time you enter into a bakery. You and I both love a little bit of Portuguese confection, don't we? Now, if there's a situation we're trying to help with. We're going to go back over a few Portugal quiz questions that have been mounting up and haven't been dealt with, along with many other things, it seems, like emailing Jackie, the humble crafter. Oh, is everything okay in your kitchen?
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like a Western scene from Hollywood in there. Is there someone going to burst through the louvered doors in a minute? Set them up.
Oh, my
Okay.
dogs and my son just entered that apartment, so
Oh, there you
now
go.
know I'm on with you, so they'll be nice and quiet.
Oh, that's all right. No, I'm not complaining. I just thought it was interesting. Now, Matty needs a little bit of help with his pão. And I say pão, as in Portuguese bread. He was delivered these in central Portugal, I think, yesterday morning. Just yesterday morning. There are 2 pão com chouriços here, and he was concerned at the appearance of the one on the right. Now, do you like this particular pastry here in Portugal, the pão com chouriço?
I'm not familiar with it. What is it? No.
Oh, it's the Portuguese sausage roll. So
I'm very familiar with it, actually.
Right. But instead of a like a wiener in there, you've got slices of chorizo, and they are wrapped up in some lovely warm hot bread normally.
Love it.
Baked in the bread. So hopefully you get it as when it's fresh out of the oven. Now, I think the one on the right wasn't that fresh out of the oven. And we have a few quiz questions. I don't think any of them are right, incidentally. But why is this? Please help, Matty. Today I got 2 different pão com chouriços. Do you know the difference? I know it is in the dough, he says. Not sure. It was quite dry compared to the one on the left. The pão com chouriço on the right then is the Trump. Is it the Trump special with that colouring? Was it left in the sun too long in the window of the bakery? Or is it the Beatles' yellow sub commemorative pastry? Would you care to hazard a guess on that?
I'm guessing that they put annetto into the dough.
Annetto is what?
It's a natural coloring, and it doesn't have much flavor. And they put it in butter, especially in the US, to give it a more yellow look.
Well, I never. Okay, all right. So annetto is a food. Did you say it was a natural or an unnatural food?
Yeah, it's natural. It's natural.
Annetto. Okay.
What you do, they're like little red, look like seeds. They're not really seeds, and you soak it in oil.
Yeah.
And then you use it as a food coloring.
Oh, so it's like a poor man's saffron, maybe.
Exactly what it is.
Okay, all right. So there it is. We're looking to get to the bottom of this mystery and help Matty find out what happened with his pão yesterday morning. Mrs. M, incoming. Do you want to hazard a guess of why Matty's pão is that colour?
It looks like it's been rewarmed in a
It-
frying pan. But I did hear
It's a
Jackie's answers, 'cause I'm listening to you.
refried pal con chorizo. I'm
That's
not
what I
sure
think.
that's the right answer, but thank you for a
Maybe
very
the butter had a netto, you know.
or added annetto, fried in annetto,
Yeah.
just one annetto. Okay, thank you very much.
Let me have another think.
All right. Well, we
I'll
look.
get back
We
to
look.
you.
Well, you can
I'll
tell
get
us when you
to-
join us a little bit later on,
Yeah.
Ron. Okay, I do, Ron. Right, Jackie. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. I don't want to deprive you though of the vital oxygen of publicity this morning. Anything else you wish to tell us about? We're gonna be doing some extra conversations, aren't we, soon about as a spin-off from your excellent webinar last Thursday, how Portugal has exceeded your expectations. We're going to be talking along those lines a little bit more.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that, and we have to plan that one. So let's
Plan.
talk later today if you have a moment. I would love that.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot. Sometimes I think if somebody just simply showed everyone especially from the US, all their numbers, we would still see what an incredible bargain this country is. Even if you're paying your NHR, you're still coming out ahead in your utilities, your rent, your food, and your personal safety and your health care.
Beyond comparison, this is what we've discovered
Yeah.
in the last few months, right? And we understand the emotional shock of that. People get very emotional when it comes to money, don't they? And I think that's a lot of the NHR kerfuffle was about that. But as you say, get the right professionals and then have a little look. Broaden your view and your perspective, and you'll see that it's a wonderful place to be here in Portugal.
It's a great. Let me just say this: if I never had to go back to the U.S. because I do have family there, I would never go back. I have no interest in ever stepping foot on the soil.
Interesting. That's radical, isn't it? Did you expect?
It is.
And did you expect to be saying that before you got here?
I don't think I ever was. I think I said, maybe I'll miss it's home.
Yeah, right.
But not anymore. And it doesn't feel like home anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't view it that way.
Messing about behind the scenes. She's so naughty.
Yeah.
Okay. Lucky
so
she
this is home.
Yeah, well, that's an amazing thing to hear. And thank you very much for that. And join the Expats Portugal community on the link that's on the screen, folks. You get a warm welcome over there. And actually, Mrs. M is going to be talking a bit more about this. In the astrology world, one of the key messages she seems to be getting beyond the numbers and the mechanisms of astrology is the isolation and loneliness that some people are feeling at the moment. And that can be an issue with migration and moving to a new country. And certainly one really good cure for that is to join a community like Expats Portugal. So do that on the link there. And you get a warm welcome in the forum, won't you, Jackie?
You know what? Somebody, Hank and Connie, we do a show every first of every month. And one of the things Hank commented on, he goes, what most Americans, when they come to Portugal, they'll say, I never had as many friends as I do here in Portugal, never in the US. And I think there's something about that. And I think there's a lot of truth to that because we come here and we're open to this experience and we're open to other people. And when you're open, everybody welcomes you. And also you're not killing yourself if you're retired working 24/7.
Well, there is that.
And so now you have the time for the first time in your life to really start to make friends.
Yep.
And that's the truth. You end up with more friends here than you ever had. Most of us than we had in the States.
And some new ones that you never imagined that you would get to meet, and some very interesting people too. That's the other thing is about moving abroad, isn't it? You do get to meet some eccentric and interesting characters.
Absolutely.
Portugal. Well, so final word then. I think Antonio Barbosa is summing it up beautifully here. Portugal will remain golden, NHR or not, or golden visa or not, and don't come if you don't want to fall in love. And if you could pass this on to Konkan Hani from James, that would be great as well. Jackie, thank you so much. Always great fun talking to you. See you tomorrow evening for that great fun tax webinar tomorrow night.
Yes. Bye.
Ciao. See you, Jackie. Ciao. There she goes. And I'll tell you what, let's keep this applause going because we've got the wonderful Nancy Medwell joining us now. Woo! How about that? The people are loving seeing you on the screen, Nancy. How are you?
I'm great. And I just was so inspired by the last bit of the woman that just left the screen because
that would be Jackie, yeah. Jackie Acevedo from Expats Portugal.
I have no interest in going back to the United States as well. I'm another one. I could care less about setting foot on soil there. And I am in love with this place. So I loved the comment that whoever that person was that just made, like, you do fall in love here. You do. It's it's an energy field. It's really real and it's beautiful. And I'm so grateful to be here.
Oh, how lovely. I've been listening to an amazing podcast, The Emerald, where I was really blown away. Actually, it's one of the best things I've heard in years.
Mm.
And what this young man does, I'm calling him a young man, probably only just because he's younger than me, but amazing, incredible podcast. And he talks about our sensitivity, our energetic awareness, as I think you're putting it there, and how this has been squashed, repressed. Not only that, but actually beaten out of people. People have been killed for it over the years, of course, as we know. If you don't have to think too hard to see that people's sensitivity and those sort of capabilities of the human being have been hounded and torn from people. It's been horrific, really. And we're living in something of a dark age in that respect. However, here we are in Portugal, Nancy. And would you say then that those sort of vibrations, that sort of energy is a little bit more alive and well, or the direction of travel is better here for those sorts of sensitivities that some of us humans have?
I do. I think that because we live close to nature here, because a lot of expats that come here are retired, they have more time to really just slow down, which I think is a big. And so when you slow down, you can be present. Your senses are more open to the beauty
Yeah.
that's around, including the human beings that you come in contact with. And you can sense, I think, immediately the energy of somebody if they're really present and if they're kind and you feel it. You feel it.
The real
That's
them, perhaps you might say.
sensation. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And this, I was going to say, this is a sort of work you're in. It's probably not work, is it? This is your life's interest. To call it work would be probably undermining it a little bit. It says on the screen, you're an Ayurveda, a lifestyle mentor. Please tell us more about it.
Well, Ayurveda is a term that many people have not heard of. It is an ancient medical science from India, and it's focuses on how we're all made up of the elements. We're all made up of all the elements of the fire, earth, water, and we're born with a certain DNA with the certain amount of each one of these elements. And as we go through our life, we become out of balance because of culture, because of the environment, because of our family of origin. Everybody has trauma of some sort that they've had to deal with, and we get out of balance, and then we don't digest our food well. We get sick. We have a dis-ease emotionally, mentally, physically, and unless we are paying attention to how to remain in balance, and we do in Ayurveda, you do that through daily habits and food.
Tell us about some of those daily habits. I know a little bit about this, probably just a tiny bit more than most people. As you say, it's quite a sort of a cult, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just kind of hidden, isn't it, from the
No,
mainstream in many ways?
I think because we have so much available to us online, and I think probably a lot of your listeners are people who are hungry for information. So a lot of the daily habits we probably heard about, like
Yes.
staying off the screen before you go to bed, going to bed earlier, eating a lighter dinner, eating your major meal at lunch, consuming less sugar, less alcohol, less coffee, and working, these things we all heard of. But with Ayurveda, if you really want to choose to take control of your health instead of having to deal with a healthcare system, which has a lot of, always going to the doctor for this or that, your wisdom is innate, your intelligence is innate when you become aware and make choices and start paying attention. And I can go on and on and on and on with daily habits, but
well, I think it'd be nice to hear a few of them this morning. Apparently, Paul in the Algarve, it's not just the country that makes your life good, it's your attitude to life that makes all the difference to helping others and happiness. Now, that probably comes into what you're talking about as well, doesn't it? One's mental attitude and approach.
Absolutely. If you have a positive attitude, if somebody starts talking to you about the world and the gravity of the world right now, it doesn't keep you in an elevated, positive place. So it's like the choices of what you choose to engage in, the choices of the people that you choose to hang out with, and how positive they are. It really makes a difference in your spirits at the end of the day, because you take that energy of that positive conversation out into the world.
Mm, mm. Oh, wonderful. Now, Nubinet has had a little bit of a value from you already. She's in California, so realizes that she might need a bit more sleep or to go to bed. It was 12:30. GMO, Good Morning Portugal time. Thank you for being with us. And of course, I'm sure you're not suggesting very rigid frameworks. I imagine one of the
No,
principles of
very
Ayurveda is flexibility, right? And balance and finding that.
important to be kind to yourself. We're all different. We all have different paths. And I think it's really important to honor how to do this in a way where you don't do it all at one time, you know? Um, I mean, I wake up every morning and I spend an hour doing self-care rituals, which include breath, because that's another thing that I do. I'm a breath facilitator. So I help people find their breath. Most people don't breathe properly. So you teach them how to breathe, you give them breath practice to do every day to calm your nervous system down. Then when you go to start your day, you're set up for, you have and the other thing that's really important is that you practice it every day. You just don't do it for a week, or you just don't go on a weekend retreat and feel amazing. It's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah. A bit like our God Squad tips of the day. Coach Turner has been showing us things that are perhaps more within the realm of the physical body and the physical aspects and energies of the body, training us in strength and stamina and giving us exercises to do. But it's not a million miles away from what you're talking about, is it? To bring us, a truly holistic view to caring for ourselves and extension and giving an extension to our healthy years, because that's one of the important distinctions that the coach makes. There's longevity, and then there's the amount of healthy years within the number of years that you live, and presumably Ayurveda can be a boost to your health span as well as your lifespan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we have one precious life to live. What choices are we going to make each day to live it to the fullest? And when you learn from Ayurveda that there's certain herbs and spices that you can use that that you use every day in your food, like you have it, just like a lot of people add salt, although here in Portugal, you never find salt on the table, which I find interesting. But
Yes.
you
Why is
add,
that, Nancy? Why is that?
I guess the people who prepare food feel like they've salted it perfectly, and there doesn't.
And often they have, right? Yeah.
So when you combine certain spices in your rice or in the meat that you're cooking or in the veggies that you're cooking, it helps to assimilate the nutrients in the food, so it goes into your soft tissues, rather than just a lot of the food we eat we don't absorb, and so it also aids in digestion, these herbs and spices, so you more easily digest that piece of meat that you're eating or that bowl of rice.
Very
um,
good. Do you know,
yeah.
you've reminded me of something my mum said last time she was here. We were in a restaurant, I think in Foz, and she said, "I bet the chef's a smoker." And I'm thinking, "What has he come out?" Sometimes you're at a restaurant, aren't you? You see the kitchen staff after the shift having have a well-earned break and often having a smoke outside the fire exit or whatever. And I couldn't see anyone smoking. And she said, "This food's so salty. The chef's the chef's destroyed his taste buds with smoking, and he's tasting the food. It's over salty." I thought, "Wow, Sherlock, that's quite a
Yeah,
deduction to come to." But
it's
there's some
true.
grandma wisdom in there somewhere, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So, without wanting to dilute or lessen the power, or even to become, sort of digital well-being Instagram sound bites, are there some things that you can tell us about Ayurveda that have come into the sort of more common consciousness collective, if you like, that people might like to try to do every day, or do they need to go on a course first?
No, I don't think they need to go on a course first, but I would hope through this conversation that they're curious about Ayurveda, because it's a very dense science. There's so much to learn, but I can give you a few tips that I think would be really great. You know how when we eat food, if it's cooked in the right oil, like olive oil is a good carrier and coconut oil is a good carrier, but the most potent carrier of the nutrients from food is cooking with ghee, and ghee is a clarified butter where you just buy a good quality organic butter and heat it up, and the whey and the particles that are not so good for you float up to the top. And I mean, you can easily find a recipe online, but you then skim that off and you have that butter, that clarified butter in a jar. And when you cook with ghee, which tastes delicious, it's you absorb the food more so than any other oil. It goes
Oh,
right to your juice and feeds you. So it's the healthiest fat that your body can have. Helps you metabolize fat. So it
so
also
there's a little suggestion. Is that why some people are dairy intolerant, because of some of the parts of butter, if not all of it?
exactly.
Oh, okay. So you're getting rid of the sort of lactic
Exactly.
nasties and purifying it to something a little more useful.
It's the best fat that you could have.
Okay.
Also, coriander, cumin, and fennel are three
Mm.
root spices for immunity, for anti-inflammation, for digestion. I mean, there's just like three basic spices. And if you boil just like a teaspoon in a couple cups of water, or a half a teaspoon of each, and sip that throughout the day, it's great for detoxing. You can even consider replacing your morning cup of coffee a couple days a week with this as you try to consume less coffee. But I know that's
Tell us again what that recipe is.
cumin, coriander, and fennel. And those
Okay.
three spices. Yeah.
And in Portugal, it's fairly easy. I mean, the herbal tradition seems to be alive and well here, doesn't it? In the supermarket, there's a lot of herbs in dried herbs that you can buy.
Absolutely. There's there's Indian supermarkets here where you can find all of these very easily. In any of the supermarkets, they have them. Another thing to do if you've eaten a lot, you've overeaten and you want some help digesting, you can have a little thin slice of ginger with some lime on it, or lemon, and a little salt, and chew that up really well, and it helps to digest your food. It also helps if you don't have much of an appetite and you want to increase your appetite, you have that before a meal.
Okay.
But endless lifestyle hacks that can
Yes.
help live longer and have a sense of vitality instead of, some people eat and then they get sluggish. You become more acutely aware of what you're eating and know everybody's different, and what is good for one person is not good for another, because we're all made up of different combinations of those elements. So we have a different constitution. And I don't want to get into the science of Ayurveda, but I'm happy to answer questions if people have questions. I don't want to,
Fantastic.
there's so
No, I
much.
totally understand that. It's a big subject, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't expect a medical doctor to come and explain medicine in 10 minutes.
Exactly.
So, okay. Doc's never managed it anyway so far. That's wonderful. And one thing I remember about my early dabbling with Ayurveda, and I think Deepak Chopra used to popularize this quite a lot, didn't he, back in the day? Yeah, and were the constitutions of people. And perhaps it's one of those things that gets, as well as subscribed to, misused. And it connects with what you were talking about with individuality, and how with this approach, you're finding out what's right for the individual. It's not a panacea. It's not that kind of modern medicine. Just take this one thing and everything's going to be fine. And it's these constitutions, isn't it? When I first heard about the Kapha, Vata, and what's the other one? Pitta constitutions. It's a bit like optimist, pessimist, or star signs, isn't it? It's like I want to be the best one, and it's not a matter of being the best one, is it? These are forces that are at play, aren't they? Might be a predominant one, but we're all subject to all of them. So could you tell us a little bit about those constitutions before you go?
I could, except it confuses people, and then they get.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I'd rather. Honestly, I'm not avoiding your question. It's
No,
just
I get it.
that I'd rather say there's certain easier ways to go about it, like to stop buying processed food, for instance. I know that's a big one, but to look in your kitchen and just say, make a commitment to yourself and say, I want to stay healthy. I want to feel strong. All of that stuff has toxic, nasty additives in it, designed to make you eat more chips or eat more cookies. I mean, that's how they're designed. So just you have to make a choice. And the easiest thing to do is just not buy that stuff, and
You're
to
right.
buy good produce and buy the produce that's in season. And people say, oh, I can't buy organic produce because, well, you have to find the good sources, one, where to get them here, and they exist. And know that if you spend that extra money on that food that's not been contaminated as much, or if you just wash your produce really, really mindfully and well, it's going to help you live longer. You know, it's what you eat is really how you breathe, how you live. So it's really
Well, picking up on something you said there, if we're not eating the right things for our constitution, presumably we're giving our body extra work to do,
exactly.
which is energy that could be used better elsewhere. And if our whole life is like that, then we could end up, we don't even know anymore. It becomes the sea you swim in, doesn't it? That that you don't even notice, and you think, I'm tired, therefore I need to eat more of those cookies that you mentioned that will give me a bit of energy. I've got a confession to make, Nancy, and I'm going to take your advice. I bought a bar of chocolate at the Intermarché just down the road, and it was the lovely milk chocolate with salt and caramel in.
Mm.
And I brought it home, and I thought I'll just have one chunk before I share this with Mrs. M. I'll have two. I'll have two because there'll still be 6 chunks left, and I ate the whole thing. She doesn't even know this. She's listening in now, and I will face the full consequences, quite rightly, when she joins me on the screen. Oh, here she is now to address it. Is everything okay? Everything okay there?
Yeah, you bought me up some chocolate. Hi, Nancy. You bought up some chocolate last night. I wasn't expecting it, and there are only about 3 pieces left. And I
That
did
was a
eat.
different bar. That was a different bar. Where's Nancy gone? Hold on a minute.
How's Nancy gone?
Hold on.
If it's
Oh, there she is.
treat every once in a while, it's fantastic. But if we have it around, we're going to eat, because it's an emotional kind of thing. It's like a habit that we've gotten into. Oh, chocolate, delicious, yummy, I'm going to eat it. But it's becoming really conscious of, really want to eat those 3 pieces, or can I just be savor that one and suck on it fully and let it melt in my
ate
mouth?
2 pieces, and then I ate 2 of the pieces. I was sat at my desk here and just working away, and then Carl came up and I said, "Oh, here, have this last piece." And he said, "Is that it? Is that what you've saved?" That's why I came on the screen. I was like, "What, you were
It's worse.
snarky towards me last night?"
No, it's worse
2
than that.
pieces.
No, the one.
The whole bar.
No, that was a different bar. The one I made you feel bad about yesterday was a different bar. The day before, I'd eaten a whole bar on my own in the kitchen.
Listen, we all do it. We
Oh
all
my goodness. What is wrong? Do you need coaching or counseling?
I do. I feel better from having unburdened myself with that terrible secret I was keeping, first and foremost. But yeah, I think I would probably need to take it to the next stage.
I'm going to leave you so you and Nancy can carry on talking, because I just sort of interrupted. But
You did quite rightly.
Yeah,
So I need to
okay.
ask. I need to ask
Really
Nancy
nice
about
tuning in.
Matthew's pal. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry. I love you. I'm sorry. I forgive you. And what was the other one? Apuna. Anyway, feast food should not be eaten every day. Thank you for that, T-Duck there. Quite right. And they're called a treat for a reason, aren't they? There's chocolate. There's chocolate that's more like food and not filled with chocolate. It's still tasty. Yeah, but next thing you'll be telling me carob is nice. And everyone knows, Nubianet, that carob is horrible. Don't even start with your carob nonsense. Anybody. Okay. From time to time, I will stand alone on the kitchen counter and eat a whole bar of chocolate like Homer Simpson, but not every day. Now, Nancy, I was mentioning Matty's pal, and I emphasize it is pal I'm asking you to look at. Have you any idea? Probably you wouldn't insult your body and system with such a thing. This is a pao con chorizo that Matty has eaten. And he was served 2. He got served 2. And one of them, the one on the right, we're trying to identify why it's that color. Would you care to guess, or is this something you would just not bother to eat or talk about?
I have no idea, really.
Okay, well then, fair enough. All right. How can people find out more about Ayurveda with you? I'm hoping you've got a workshop or course coming up, or there is some way people can work with you to find out more and come to this beautiful part of the country to learn it.
Well, every Sunday, usually the first Saturday of every month, this month is tomorrow. Sometimes it's the second Saturday. I host a Ayurvedic cooking workshop in my home in Salir de Porto. And it's usually full. I limit it to 8 people because I also give some talk about breath in the beginning of it and talk about how people can change just one habit, pick one habit to focus on. So I support them in kind of inspiring them to integrate Ayurveda, and by having them experience what it's like to, when you breathe, you become more present, you become more conscious. And then you get in the kitchen and you see how easy it is to prepare things. And then we share a meal together. So that's one way. And then once a month on Saturdays, there's a vegetarian restaurant in Foscherello called Coco's. And I'm going to be doing, it's closed on Saturday in the evenings, but I'm going to be doing an educational kind of fun talk an hour before dinner. And then she's going to make Ayurvedic food for people to taste. It's a fabulous environment.
Oh, what a lovely idea, Nancy, because Coco's is getting a reputation, isn't it, on the Silver Coast for being somewhere you can go and have something a little bit different. Now, I love regular Portuguese food, and some of that doesn't overlap terribly well with Ayurvedic principles. And Coco's are doing some incredible food, aren't they, in this part of the country anyway? Well, and they've taken it to another level by they're consulting you and you're creating some Ayurvedic specials with them. Tell us more about that.
Well, the next one is on February 10th. 5 o'clock. You have to register in advance, so we know how many people are going to show up, and
Sure.
And it always will be different. I mean, I'm going to be inspired to speak about whatever new recipes I've tried, whatever digestion. This time it's going to be all about digestion and combining the herbs in our food, using it every day to help us digest our food. And I'll talk about whatever inspires me, life. What's important in life, how we can all live and support each other to be that bright light that exists within us instead of the doom and gloom, how we can just keep that energy going. And yeah.
And you're in Foscherello and Coco's, of course, so you could even be on the beach in the earlier part of the afternoon, have a little swim in the lagoon. What a fabulous setting.
I was also saying that I'm going to probably start offering a couple times a week practices on the beach. I'm also really in love with Qigong, which is a beautiful breath and movement practice. So I can share that more with people. I mean, I feel like I will never retire. I'm here really to share all the wisdom that I've been gathering throughout the years. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of listeners have more time in their life to really devote to how they can really become more responsible for how they feel. Yeah.
Superb. And on the 4th Tuesday of the month, we've started a new thing which you might like to pop back to with any news you've got of this kind. With Spartan FX, we're going to be the Tuesday chill out. And now Sarah's all about helping people move to Portugal and helping them with currency and doing that in a stress-free way. We've got Marion from I can't remember the name of her company now, but she does retreats in Portugal, a German lady who also a fan of Qigong, who will be joining us. So perhaps you'd like to join us as well on Chill Out Tuesday from time to time and tell us more about Ayurveda and some of the wonderful courses that you're running. For the time being, thank you very much. How can people find out about the courses that are upcoming in this next few weeks with you?
I think the best way is to send me your email or phone on I'm so not tech oriented. It's I have somebody that handles it for me, but I listed on Facebook on a couple groups. So if you want to be friends with me on Facebook, that would be a good way to find out about stuff, or Instagram.
Okay, and that you're on there as Nancy Medwell on both of those platforms, are you?
Yes, and I'm gonna be more active because I've got somebody to do it for me, because it's not how I want to.
There are so many more important and useful things to be doing, aren't they? Who doesn't like having it handled for them first thing in the morning? I think that's a great idea, and I thank you so much for being with us this morning. It's long overdue, isn't it? I've been wanting to talk to you for ages, Nancy.
No, it's really about time. I also wanted to say, just in case you're not a social media person like me, just send me a private message and with your email so I can add you to my list, and keep you informed of things that way, because I still do. That's how I contact people.
Wonderful. Nancy,
Okay.
I'm not going to give you a rapturous round of applause. That seems a little inappropriate as we've achieved a state of calm here. I think we just will end with a little bit of a namaste, shall we? And some GuMPer dust. How about that? Ciao,
Thank
ciao. Thank you so much for being here, and have a great time in Foz and your upcoming weekend workshop. Nancy, thank you. Ciao, ciao. There she goes, Nancy. I need a. Do you know when I send some feedback to StreamYard, I need a fade rather than an unceremonious booting out of the studio that I have to do with people. So it'd be nice to have a little sort of fade rather than a sudden crashing on or off the screen. Talking of sudden crashes onto the screen. Sorry about the chocolate thing. I think we've got a bit of a delay here. Let's see if we have.
I think we do. I think my internet isn't so good up here.
Right, and it's not just the distance that was created energetically by meeting the big chocolate bar.
No.
Good. Okay, excellent.
And something else I've noticed is because I'm sat at the front of the house, I'm absolutely bleached out by the sun. I've got I need to get shutters working.
Isn't that a fantastic problem to have? It looks like I'm in the dungeon in artificial light. Nancy will be giving you 10 out of 10 for being in the natural light. Yes, and suggesting that I might do some of the same here in the mornings. Filomena's joined us. Bom dia a todos. Boa quarta-feira, dia de mercado em Miranda de Corvo. So it's market day in Miranda. Good morning to you and to Michael, who's over there. And there's lots of more chat about US taxes going on in the chat this morning. Thank you for that. And people talking about denouncing citizenship as well. Who'd have thought it? Bon dia, Filomena. Wish we had done our lesson yesterday. The medical was a shambles. Oh dear, you don't need to struggle with your language whilst you're having whatever you are having done, Peter. But I guess ouch is fairly universal when it comes to those situations. But I hope that went well. Hola, Luisa from Filomena, and of course,
Filomena, I want to. And hello, T-Duck. Filomena, I wanted to say thank you so much for that yummy natural honey that you sent us. It's really lovely. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, that was very, very rich and smoky. Like it was a proper honey, wasn't it? Like I remember having when I was a kid. None of you sort of basically
like smoking Rothmans or something. It was
smoking honey, the Rothmans rather than the silk cut of the honey world, right? As T-Duck says here, Mrs. M, you are, since we last spoke, and I feel like I'm very lucky to have you here. I do anyway. I feel lucky to have you in my life, but especially so given what's gone on with you on YouTube in the last, week or two? What's been going on for you there?
In the last 10 days, my channel was maybe 2 weeks. It's just started to go, ooh.
Right. Well, you'll have to give me some tips, obviously. But what more specifically, what's been going on? Like thousands of views, and you're getting into thousands of subscribers as well.
That's interesting that I sound muffled. I can't actually hear myself in the headphones. I can actually hear myself.
That's because you're not using the mixer, are you? I think you're probably not even. I suspect you might even be using the mic on those headphones rather than the official stuff. But we can hear you well enough.
Let me just double check.
But I don't think you're coming through that microphone even. You're probably coming through the webcam mic. This sort of thing happens. No, you need to work with professionals.
No, I am actually coming through that mic, but I think my studio up here needs a bit of working.
It does. Yeah. Well, it's been overwhelmed by public. Yeah, I think it's been more about the YouTube channel and the numbers rather than the technicalities of the studio just recently. So why would you say you're experiencing a sudden uplift in subscribers and views? Has the time come where people are just ready to hear in greater numbers the messages of astrology?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my whole consultancy practice really sprung up. Oh, that's nice to hear about your bees working, Filomena. My work sprung up at the time of COVID, which obviously was a time of anxiety, and a lot of people were looking for reassurance and a little bit of calm about, future directions and trends and things like that. And some of the astrology that was going on back then, literally in the month that COVID was announced or launched, en masse around the world. We've got very, very similar astrology going on right now. And we just got a massive load of planetary things going on that really fit in with the astrology of America, which is going through some massive changes. And it also corresponds with the astrology of Portugal. So both America and Portugal are going through something called a Chiron return, which happens every 50 years. But it does address cultural pain and cultural upset, and where we're all feeling lost. And isolation is a massive, massive, massive theme at the moment, which is the same as what was going on in March 2020 when my consultancy just kind of sprung up out of nowhere. So I think it's because, I don't know, the energy, in the same way that before there were really big crashes and rises in the stock exchange, there are astrological markers that just precede them by a few days, and it's almost like there is a feeling of an anticipation of change. And is it the feeling of people on the world that makes those changes, that makes those trends suddenly pop or not? I don't know. But there is it the Heart Math Institute that has James, if he's listening, will be able to tell us that, I'm sure. But there is a place that's been studying the energies of the world for decades, and they've got these little automatic random yes no technology. So I think there's like, I don't know, a certain amount of computers that literally just draw a yes or a no, a yes or a no, a yes or a no, again and again and again. And at times of great stress, great change, like if there's a big tsunami or something, they all start these random yes knowers. And obviously it'd be great if somebody could like look that up for me and find out what it's actually called. I think it's at the Heart Math Institute. But all of a sudden the yes no random controls start to come together. So is it human consciousness that is leading the way? I think it is. And maybe my work's just improved. I don't know. But it has shot up. I mean, in 10 days.
That Indian team you played behind the scenes.
No, not at all.
I'm joking. I get those emails every day. That I can improve your.
Doubled. I've doubled my channel subscribers in about 2 weeks.
Amazing.
And I don't know how it's happened, but yeah. Newbinet's saying something.
I'm sure she is. I'm sure as many people are in the chat here. We've got more to
recommending. Yeah. Oh, cool.
Go on. Oh, okay. All right. You're just having a little bit of a chat with
James
yes, Heart Math, monitoring the EMFs globally in relation to human flatulence. Influence, I mean, there. And yes, I find this very interesting because Nubianet was also saying earlier on about stay away from the so-called news. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? And I think I defend my news viewing habit as a kind of gender stereotype and human nature sort of thing. So I feel it's my job as the male.
Yeah.
Sorry,
you're monitoring the boundary. You're monitoring.
Yes.
Can you not hear me at all?
I can.
You're monitoring.
Yes, we're just talking over each other. You got to slow down a bit. You got to do some Ayurvedic breathing because you're talking and then I'm talking and then we're not hearing each other and it just gets worse. So let's just both slow down a little bit. So my habit is to think, or my excuse for looking at the news is I'm looking at the boundary, and it's human nature, obviously, to want to know what's going wrong, and so that you might be able to put it right. And that's what the news in a way has exploited, that those natural human responses and inclinations. And that said, we know that the news is a load of old nonsense and it's editorialized and it's spun a certain way to get attention and clicks, and it's ultimately about advertising. And that said, there still must be incoming information about the environment and world we live in that whether or not we want to know about it and expose ourselves to it, we are being exposed to it. And that's what you're talking about, isn't it? If you're talking about Schumann resonance, if you're talking about energies of planetary movement, how human beings are feeling in the collective, that could be the new news.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not big enough that I need someone to answer all my comments yet. But I've responded personally to over 1,000 people in the last week in the comments. And one of the things that I'm noticing is a lot of people are talking in terms of the isolation that they've been experiencing. And so I think they're coming to my channel because they're feeling reassurance. But, if you take them as just, I mean, there might be some cynics that are saying, okay, the types of people that write, oh, I'm feeling isolated, or thank you, I feel really reassured now because of your video. They might be ultra sensitive, but they might be like the canaries in the coal mine, the ones that feel things first. I attract a lot of empaths. So, yeah, I think there is this feeling of insecurity, and rightly so. I mean, there's the American politics ramping up this year.
Yeah.
One thing that I think will make it a bit easier is the fact that we've got the Olympics in the middle of summer.
We do?
The last
Seriously?
time is it Olympic year 2024.
I had no idea. That's the first I've heard.
Or when was the last one? 20.
I think it probably got disrupted, didn't it? I don't know when the next Olympics are, but you can be sure there is going to be a major sporting event of some sort.
Well, what I'm tracking right now astrologically is the cycle between Chiron and the North Node. And when they come together every roughly 4 years, because one's got an elliptical orbit and the other is actually not orbiting. It's made of it's an astrological calculation. I don't know. It's like a sensitive moon, like where we track the moon and notice its point. But there's these things like Chiron is about pain and wounding and things that we don't get over, things that are come up from childhood that come up again and again and again as a theme. It's like our personal Achilles heel. And then the North Node is talking about our purpose in life, and do we feel connected to our purpose? And literally the last time they came together in a square was in the month of 2020, and the world went crazy with pain, with misery, with isolation, with fear. I mean, there was something else going on as well with Pluto, but it was a really, really big event. And then did you hear that?
I think
We just
there's
had
something. You've got some sort of influence coming in, an energetic influence coming in from off camera and microphone. No, I didn't hear the specific content.
Said, I didn't pee in your bed.
Well, that's good to know. Useful information. Thank you very much, young man. Right. Okay. Here's another thing on the news that I wanted to ask you, and congratulations are in order, and thank you for this analysis and this conversation this morning about this. So the other thing about the news and human nature to want to know what's going on, there are the voices outside our head, if you like, which have become completely normalized, haven't they? The voices of marketing messages, the voices of editorialized news gatherers. And then there's the voices inside the head, which over the last few hundred years, we've been told to either ignore or seek medical help for. Or if you keep going on about it, they're going to lock you up. So what do you say? You used the word empath earlier on. Is that the new news? Is the new news studio our intuitive sixth sense system that we might be more or less aware of? And actually, on that note, I would say everyone's aware of it, but we've all come to employ different ways of managing that information or shutting it down. So what do you think about the internal news gatherer and the sensitivity of the individuals and what might be going on with that in these times?
I think before there's any kind of massive change, people start to get an inkling to do something in the same way as if you observe with animals and things like deer, all of a sudden all change direction at the same time, and one will feel it first, and then is it because they're a herd, or do they know that something's coming? When we went to Tamar that day before we decided to move to the beach, the birds were going crazy and there was a fire, so animals anticipate things. Now, is it because of their electromagnetic connection? I don't know how they do it, but humans have forgotten about the sixth sense that we all have, and we're all guided. And people talk about world wars. There would have been many people that would have felt the energy of a war approaching and would have got out. You know, migration seems to go crazy before big events. Right now, and like when we look here, you know, obviously you're in the migration business, and a lot of people here have migrated or about to. You know, you guys are also the canaries in the coal mine as well. You must have, like, were you feeling something? You know, a lot of people are talking that they're moving away because they don't feel safe in their political country of residence. They don't feel very comfortable with the politics. But I think it might be beyond politics. It's a sense of, you know, I'm better off somewhere else.
Yeah, because the
Uh,
politics are just a symptom of where they've come from. They're not actually the cause. It's just more of a symptomatic
yeah.
matter. Yeah,
And there
very interesting.
are some people who always seem to find themselves right in the center of trauma, but there are always the people that leave just before the trauma starts. And I tend to be
Yes,
somebody who manages to just have a knack to know not to be somewhere.
right.
Um,
Very good. Good for you. That maybe you should run a course on that.
you're very good at doing it as well. I mean, like
And then
we left the UK. I mean, we were starting to think that in the UK it wasn't necessarily the best place for us. And in fact, I think, was it you that was saying that there was food blockades in Paris? Sorry, on the border of France and Spain.
Mm.
Is that right?
No, no, not
You
well,
know,
there may well be. There may well be, but more specifically, and this connects beautifully with what you were saying, and we can thank you for that comment, by the way, because I put I put something up
which one?
like this on Facebook last night. Yeah, what voices are you guided by? The TV, the marketing men, or the voices in your head? And this is a really beautiful way of putting it. I'm being guided by my natural instincts. Well done,
Yeah.
William. I can see that. It's better to be a year early than one day late. That's another great way of
Yes,
looking at it, isn't it?
yes.
And I've decided to lean into my intuition, but it's something I have to make myself quite quiet and tune into. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't live in a world where it's encouraged Nubianet, so of course you'd have to make an effort. It's all kicking off in Paris now, says William, and essentially I was seeking a better fit on every level, personally, politically, culturally, and so on, and empathically, I suspect as well, James, knowing you as I do. Now, you're absolutely right, Mrs. M. In the hurly-burly of elections and other things that are going on, war, there is indeed. I mean, do you remember when we were kids? The fact that there was going to be an Olympics that year was the only news on TV for weeks on end.
Well,
And
it's interesting. Where I was tracking the Chiron and North Node connections, and it's approximately every 4 years they come together in a different way. In all of those years, for about 20 or 30 years, when I was like looking at these connections, they coincided with massive shifts in consciousness, whether it's from like a rash of suicide bombs in that month, fires, plane crashes. There were loads of really, really big themes, and wars, and things like sudden militia, over like what are they called, military juntas and things like that. You know, where one government gets completely replaced by another. And then there was 1 year when it didn't happen. And it was because the moment that it happened was right in the middle of the summer, right in the middle of the Olympics on an Olympic year. And all of the news was just about win, 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 which is interesting because, like, if you look at things like on this day, I mean, this isn't astrological, but if you look at on this day and go back month by month by month, over the summer months, nothing ever really happens. And that's because the people who are running or organizing the world are having their holidays. They don't want to be bothered by stuff. And it's when all the sporting events go on, you know, like nothing significant tends to happen.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Because again, as I recall summer as a kid, it felt like 8 weeks of nothing happening until everybody went back to
Yeah.
school and work in September, perhaps. And I don't think that the same can be said of France now. I suspect the Olympics might be a little bit impacted by what's going on. And I think maybe what they could do is involve the French farmers in the Olympics and come up with some new events, like maybe the most buildings you could spray with cow dung. The long jump pit could be entirely made of manure, couldn't it? Then you have to jump over it rather than into it. Running away from the French riot police. There's probably
Yeah, I mean,
going to be
that would
that.
be
As well.
really, you'd need to work really fast and hard to do that because
Yeah,
they're kitted
true.
up. Like,
Yes.
when I lived in France and briefly when I lived in Italy, I was petrified, you know, of their police force because, you know, they're tooled up. You know, they look like
Okay,
robots.
that was 100 years ago,
And that
everybody.
was like 20 odd years ago.
Yeah, if you're feeling down
Yeah.
in Portugal, go back to UK for a week and come back to Portugal. The sunshine makes you feel so good again. Thank you, Darren. Good to see you this morning. Nubianette, my BFF and her hubby became MT residents. They spend 6
What's
months
MT?
and one. I think that's a state. I'm not sure which one. That's people escaping California and the taxation there. Car registration is much cheaper too. Balance is the key, says James. We don't want to abandon intellect and replace with intuition and sensation and emotion, etc. We want to balance them all. Absolutely. But where has the intuition been
Yes,
these
I
last
agree.
few hundred years? November 2019, I changed my diet to boost my immune system for the winter. I wasn't expecting what was to come, but a chat with the butcher, maybe. I definitely helped myself. I still went to work in our office. Bless you, Nubianette, for taking
Yeah,
your
well done.
care of yourself in that way. I take the approach of let the heart lead and let the intellect assess. That sounds like a good order there, James. Carl, like your alternative Olympics, what, running away from the riot police? Well, it's Montana, MT. See, we weren't very well educated.
You could do like relay lessons with a baguette, couldn't you? You know, where you're handing over a baguette.
Or the javelin, the baguette javelin as well. Right. And in case anyone's wondering what is going on with European farmers, I have got the latest coverage of the Portuguese situation. So in case you weren't here at the beginning, I've got my footage that I took myself. This is citizen journalism at its best. This is what the internet was made for, in my view. So this is my coverage. Just for the sake of transparency, it's pretty much the entirety of the video. It hasn't been put through special effects or heavily editorialized. It was just pretty much as I saw it. I put a title on it, and I've put a little bit of propaganda at the end for your education. So this is the situation with the Portuguese farm protest at the moment. That's it. What do you think of that?
I know where you videoed that.
End of our street. Carl, you need to get on a tractor. Life is much more fun on a tractor. Okay. And Michael saying, trust your gut instinct, good or bad. Right, Mrs. M.
This all feeds back into what Nancy was saying, actually. She wasn't talking about intuition necessarily, but she was talking about feeding the gut and feeding your body in a soulful way.
Very
I think when we heal our guts, you know, like so many people talk about the brain and the importance of the brain, but the gut is apparently the primary brain, which helps to make a lot of the chemicals that we need, and helps to regulate a lot of things. And we're always talking about what we're feeling in our gut. If we are feeding our gut and looking after our gut more, from my perspective, when I don't drink, when I don't have gluten, when I don't have dairy, I feel so much cleaner in what I know. You know, my thinking is so much more, I don't know, in alignment and a lot more in perception. And when I've been caning it and and not really been conscious, I'm not working with my faculties in quite the same way.
Yes, I totally understand that, and there is something that goes on, isn't there? I think we are, as well as if one might say there has been a conspiracy to deaden or dampen the intuitive capabilities of people. We do it to ourselves as well, don't we? And that's where it begins, doesn't it? If you want to release, enhance, or rebirth your intuitive activities, no one else is going to do that for you, are they? You got to kind of take responsibility for that for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think getting in the sunshine and getting grounded as well. I mean, that's one of the great things about Portugal. You know, who was it that was saying that? Was it Darren? You know, saying you see the sky. I mean, like last week, I was feeling a little bit like drudgy. And then all of a sudden we had a couple of days of blue sky and I just wanted to be out, you know, just seeing the natural light and being, you know, like it's crazy. I've never thought about it like this, but we've had artificial flavors and artificial fragrances and all these artificial things to enhance our sensations of life. and we know that they're bad for us. Like we've known since the 80s that artificial colors and flavorings like overexcite us and stuff. One thing that's never really been spoken about is artificial colors. We live in a world with artificial colors, which we just take as red because it comes in through our eyes. But there's a lot of different things and artificial sounds. Once you get in nature and you're seeing natural colors and hearing natural sounds of actual life, I think it rebalances you.
Yeah.
And
There's this as
Portugal
well.
was great
I-
for that. Like that.
And we went to the beach and got grounded yesterday on the beach, didn't we? And I went in the water. I tell you, I did sort of jokingly, or it might have appeared to have been a joke, to say I was baptized again yesterday. But it was such a, I mean, that's why all of this cold water therapy is going on in the world, isn't it? Is it because it's kind of shocking people out of one state and into another and making them very mindful while they're doing it? And that certainly happened to me yesterday. It was absolutely
I don't know.
exhilarating.
Well, I'll ask I've got a lovely guest coming over this afternoon for coffee who runs the swimming group in in our home. She does her wild swimming group, and I'm sure that's going to be starting up soon. But I like what Darren's saying. But that's two extremes of diet: no gluten, no dairy, versus caning it. Of course, both extremes bad. Yeah, I
Well
mean,
said.
I think the whole purpose of this is to talk about balance. But I do recognise that when I'm not conscious of what I'm eating, in fact, I would say it's almost like a depressive eating state. You know, it wears you down, or for me, it wears me down.
Yes. Now, interestingly as well, which capabilities are we using to assess that statement? Now, it seems that most of the discussion about which is the right diet tends to take place in the rational, intellectual realms of humanity. That's what people have come to know as what's called scientific these days. Now, if you bring, this is riveting stuff, Solomon. Thank you for that review. If you bring a different, fuller, holistic consideration, and you bring your body into it rather than just your mind, you're going to get a different answer to those questions, aren't you? Interestingly, my point exactly, James. I believe. Go on.
I was going to say, when I was doing my NLP and hypnosis training, you can actually work with the body, and then kinesiologists do this as well. You can work with the body to see what the body wants and what it doesn't want. We never ask our body, like it's never our body that's eating the food. I mean, physically it is, but it's our brain that determines what food that goes into us. You know, so like we see something on telly.
Whole bar of chocolate,
yeah, exactly. Like if you ask your body, I was listening to a podcast this time last year, and the person said, you know, do you ask your body what it wants to wear? Like we just assume that we are, like our body and our mind are working together, but I really don't think they are. Our mind is.
It comes back to the voices in the head, Mrs. M. If one is mindful enough, choosing clothes, choosing food, to listen, which voice in my head told me to wear that or eat that? That can be a very educational process, can't it? And you'll see if it's a fearful voice.
This little guy.
Well, I want his. That's been a brilliant conversation. Thank you. We need his help here. Okay, I was hoping to answer a load of quiz questions on. Now, Solomon is an expert, I think, on pão com chouriço. Sol, what is going on with these pão com chouriço? What is wrong with the one on the right? Is it a Trump-inspired one?
What's wrong with that sausage roll? There's two sausage rolls there. One's gone a yellowy orange, and the other one's white. What do you think is going on there?
The right answer then? Did you cheat?
No, I said don't swear.
Okay, good coaching, Mum. Don't swear. All right, brilliant. What is it, Sol? What's going on with that? What's going on with the pão com chouriço?
Something really naughty otherwise. He's a cheeky little boy. What is it?
Likely. What is it? Go on.
Mold.
It's mold.
Mold.
That's a good answer. That's
from the mouths of babes. Yeah.
He's saying it's yolk.
It's egg yolk, not mold. Okay, very good. Thank you for that.
So one looks like egg yolk, and one looks like it's covered in mold. That is a really smart answer from a 5-year-old.
Yeah, we don't know, Pinky. We don't know. He turned up one day, and he's lived with us ever since. The adorable little guy there. A great thing about Portugal and France, my last trip, was that I easily found food that suited my digestive needs. I had no issues. That's lovely. Foods are very emotive, and therefore everyone has a different relationship to it. Absolutely. And interestingly, That's a whole other conversation, isn't it? How is it that our intuitive capabilities are almost have become emotions, just one's kind of solid and looked down upon thing called emotions, when there's such a much bigger bandwidth to the whole thing of sensing and feeling life?
Well, if I may leave on this note, and I'm kind of
Bombshell. Come on.
there, because I am going to have a coffee with another friend in a second. But we are coming up to a time that matches periods of instability and isolation astrologically. And I'm not saying that to make it happen. I'm saying that as a useful resource. It is time, like Nubianette. Hang on, darling. In the same way that Nubianette.
Waking up, nothing like a sudden to shock up to wake up.
What a little dude. So, Nubianette was saying in winter of 2019, she knew to get healthy. She knew to look after her body. Mm-hmm. And then in March, there was the big sort of wake up call. So, she knew to take action, and she didn't know why she was doing that necessarily, but she took the right action at the right time. If, as in many other times has happened in these increments between Chiron and the North Node, there is a feeling of isolation and abandonment and not being able to cope, and that there are a lot of things that are waking up our fears in us, then it's time to take action now and to get a little bit more control in maybe how we are managing our brain. So if you've got like these crazy thoughts that are coming up, what's behind those? There are lots of people that talk out there that say that, when we're full of parasites, which, there are lots of different ways of thinking that talk about parasites in the body, and that we feed our parasites. So when we're having these cravings for sugar, it might be parasitical energy. But if you think about like the crazy thoughts that you have in your head, they're also like mind parasites.
You might be feeding your inner troll with such things.
Very good. This is the time to just get a little bit more. I love the idea of acidophilus or sauerkraut every day, or just eat things naturally. Let things ferment on the worktop a little bit. I'm making a load of ferments. I've got a load of natural teas all lined up.
Okay,
all right, so Solomon, you can finish the show today with the dad joke. Over to you, Solomon, please, for a little bit of a mood lifter.
Go on. Hang on, start here.
Okay.
Nice and loud, please.
Dad joke. If Finland closes its border, then no one will be employment to cross the fishing.
Not fishing.
The fishing line. You've improved it. Well done. Well done, Solomon. Great job. Thank you, Mrs. M. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Jackie A. See you tomorrow, guys, with Ali Sheldrake and Ian and Fabrizio in Lisboa. Listen to those inner voices, folks.
Bom dia, Portugal! In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.